so I normally don't like doing two of the same kind of reviews at once or consecutively, as last week I uploaded my review of The Sickness, but I really don't have a choice in the matter, as I said I would upload a review of a Disturbed album every single Friday. Now, I'm kind of crammed on time. I've got to go to work in about 20 minutes, so that gives me enough time to record this and upload it after I'm done. So, basically this is going to be my review of Disturbed's Believe, their second sophomore studio album, and in my opinion, their weakest. Now, I don't want to say their worst, because it is a very interesting album. It's got some really good songs on it, it's got some great ideas, but they sound like they weren't fleshed out enough to really make it sound like Disturbed's signature sound. Now, every single other album that succeeds this would kind of take the ideas thrown around in Believe and turn it out into a heavier, more Disturbed-esque album. Now, this album isn't necessarily a bad album, it's just a different one. I would say probably an average one, as most of the songs on here really didn't catch my attention when I first listened to this album back in, I believe it was 08, 07, 08-ish, when I was in high school. Like I said, Disturbed was the band of my high school, and the first song I ever heard by them was, of course, Liberate. So, naturally, I had my friend burn me this CD, so this is a really old CD from back in, like, 08. I'm surprised it still works, because, you know, sometimes CDs and all that, yeah. Anyways, I was very hyped to listen to this album. It let me down in almost every conceivable way. As a kid, basically. As a teenager, it let me down. Because I was used to such vibes as, you know, The Sickness and 10,000 Fists, and just kind of the Disturbed punch in the face that I was really looking for was not present on this album. It was just a bunch of soft songs where where David Draymond didn't even use his raspy voice. Now, looking back on this, looking back on my thoughts on the album, and looking back on the way I perceived Disturbed as a whole back then, it's quite different. Back then, I didn't want to hear any of the soft shit. I didn't want to hear anything by Disturbed that was anything less than heavy onslaught of in-your-face, aggressive, intense music. Now, The Sickness back then probably was my favorite album, until of course I heard Indestructible, and then that one was brand new. But I loved the heavy shit. I absolutely could not get enough of it. It took me a while to get into even the song Fear. I mean, you know, Violence Fetish, it was a little softer in the beginning. Numb, I never really liked. You know, stuff like that, it just took me a while to get into. So this album, at first, I really only liked about 2 songs off of it, and that was Liberate and Intoxication, and of course Prayer, so I suppose maybe 3 songs. But coincidentally, those are all the heavy ones, and not a little bit of nu metal influence is to be found on this album. So let's get into why this album is good. So the humor that was in Disturbed's first album basically contrived or derived from their ability to repeat the same thing over and over again and swear and be just very aggressive. So basically it's profane humor. So that is pretty much all but gone, all but missing in this album, with the exception of Liberate, and it has been replaced with some really heartfelt and deep, meaningful lyrics about religion, corruption in the government, and just things like that. A lot of this album seems to have stemmed and been influenced by September 11th, the attacks on the World Trade Center, and just everything that was going on in that era. So, the year after 9/11, they released this album, and right away, Prayer was pretty much blacklisted from being played on the radio because of its similarities to the events that occurred. But I think that really this new direction in seriousness, in softness, was partially because of what happened in 9/11. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I haven't really watched any making of documentaries, but that is really my thoughts on it. It does have some really, really good writing, really good lyrics, probably one of their better albums lyrically, but it still has a little bit of that Disturbed feeling on tracks such as Liberate, Prayer, Bound, Rise, Intoxication, but that is pretty much all lost on Darkness, and even the title track, Believe, Awaken. It doesn't really sound like something that Disturbed would do, but the writing is good. The writing is very good. what I noticed right off the bat from even the first track is it seems a lot lighter than what they've done in the past. I mean, I believe I basically I basically said to my friend one day, it's like they neutered the sickness, the tame version of the sickness, but with better writing, I suppose. So it's kind of a trade-off. If you like the really, really heavy stuff, then the sickness is for you, but if you like something with a little bit more meaning and a little bit more variation in the song structures, especially the riffs and the guitar parts, and something a little bit more complex in nature and in the writing, then I guess you would like Believe better. But, you know, I'm one for the heavy stuff, and I do think that The Sickness has some pretty decent writing on such songs as, you know, like The Game and stuff like that. But, I don't know, I'm not feeling this album. I like it, but it's just, eh. I mean, I like certain songs, I should say. So, I'm going to do it track by track. There is 12 songs on this album. It opens up with Prayer and Liberate. Probably the two heaviest songs on the album, especially Liberate. Prayer goes a little bit more melodic direction, especially in the chorus. And that's really where it gets to be a little bit more, melodic. Like I said, more harmonizing, I suppose. And, I don't know, it's just a good song overall. Liberate, this one's heavy through and through. It gets really heavy in the chorus, and it's got a little bit of that nu metal influence seen in The Sickness, but this is probably the last time we're going to see it, is on Liberate. Awaken, this one, I like the song structure, I like the chorus. I don't really like the verses that much, it just seems a little bit too choppy, and just kind of like they threw it together at the last second. Believe took me a while, but I really like this song. It doesn't sound like something that Disturbed would really write necessarily or would really put together, but it's a very, very good song, very heartfelt. I like the structure of it. It's got a lot of harmonization in it. It's very melodic, very complex in the riff structure, and it just ends up sounding really good. So at first I really didn't like it though because of how Draymond was singing. Like I said, as a freshman in high school, I just wanted the heavy shit because I was in that kind of mindset at the time, like really aggressive, really against, rebelling against the parents and against authority and just stuff like that. But that's why The Sickness was for me. Now that I'm a little bit older, I can reflect back on this album and see all the positives. I didn't really think I would like this album when I, initially took this discography on, but hey, there's something on this album for everyone. Remember, this one, again, just another okay song. I don't know. I didn't really care much for it. Just the structure, the lyricism, and it just sounds a little bit contrived. This is really the only song, I suppose, where it just seems like it's a little bit more forced. I mean, I don't know. The next song is Intoxication. This one I really like. I've liked this one since about 2009-ish when I listened to it for the first time. I didn't really get through the entire album when I first listened to it. But then in 2009, when I listened to it for the first time, I'm like, this song is badass. It's really a little bit on the more mid-tempo side. It's not really the fastest song, not the slowest. It's very heavy. Another one of those that's kind of in your face. But yet still lighter than The Sickness. You're not going to find anything heavier than The Sickness till about Indestructible. But it is what it is. The next song is Rise. I really like this one, structure and all, the way Draymond sings it. Just everything about it is really nice, really fantastic, and well crafted. Mistress, not really a big fan of. It's just kind of all over the place. I don't know, not really a fan. Breathe, probably my least favorite song on the album, just because of the structure and just the way that Draymond sings again. Bound, I really like this one, kind of for the same reason as I did Prayer and Liberate. It's a little bit heavier, it's got kind of that all over the place song structure, and it just sounds really good overall. So, the next song's Devour and Darkness. I'm going to talk about Devour, probably another one of my least favorite songs on the album. Never really got into it, but Darkness, while it's the softest song on the album, it hits the nail on the head, right where everything needs to be. It's probably the best ballad they've ever done. It's like, it combines acoustics and piano, and it's probably got the best lyrics on the entire album, so perfect way to tie this off. So, I'm going to give this album probably, just because of, all the mixed opinions on it for myself and others, I'm going to give this album probably a 6.5, 7 out of 10. I'm going to go with 6.5. I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. I like some of the songs. A lot of the ideas are really, really good on here, but a lot of them just still need to be fully fleshed out, especially in the production, especially in pretty much every area except for the lyrics. The lyrics are really the strong selling point on this album. So with that, thank you very much for watching. This is Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.